Hello, and welcome to No Such Thing as a Bad Movie podcast. I'm April Atmansky, and I'm here today with...
I'm Justin DeClue.
I'm Colin Cunningham. Wow, you're so excited.
Yeah, because I'm talking about my favorite movie, Hudson Hawk.
I wish I was as excited as you guys are about Hudson Hawk,
Yeah.
but with Bruce Willis.
Well, okay, it was my choice, and we originally picked another movie. We won't say which, but it's
we'll do that
unavailable.
We'll do that other movie.
Yeah,
eventually.
we might have to buy a physical copy of it. And then, so last minute last night, we should have checked beforehand.
Yeah,
Do you have the DVD with the director's commentary? I know I have it.
It's very unlike us to. Well, good. Then maybe you can rip it and then send us the copy next time.
Yeah, so I picked Hudson Hawk because this was a favorite of mine back in 1991 when it first came out, and 91 was just the summer of seeing movies over and over again for me. Like Terminator 2 came out, and I must have seen that like 9 times in the movie theater.
9 times?
Yeah, we just kept going back.
April,
again.
everyone watched Terminator 2 at least 20 times. It was the law.
I think, yeah, Terminator 2 and Jurassic Park in 93, I think were the only movies that have seen, approaching 10 times in a theater.
I can't even believe. I mean, I saw The Dark Knight 3 times, and technically I saw Cats 3 times as well, so I guess that counts too.
Yeah, so Hudson Hawk was another one that summer that we saw a bunch of times. I think probably about 4 or 5 times in the theater. I have not seen it since it came out on VHS, so this is the first time I'd seen it.
Wow,
And,
really?
Yeah.
Did you own it on VHS?
I did. So what would what we do in the Cunningham household is, I'd see a movie in the theater a million times, and then, wait for the day that it came out on VHS. And then I'd, get my dad to drive me to the video store, and we'd rent the movie and watch it as a family at home. I know they hadn't seen it before, so I would be waiting in excitement as we watched, Terminator 2 or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then when Hudson Hawk came out, I remember being in the basement with my parents, and we were watching it, and just like one by one, the family would just sort of get up and walk away during the movie. And my dad was like the last one, and he didn't say anything, and he just stood up maybe like 30 minutes into the movie and just walked away.
He pulled out a 6-shooter and like shot the television like Elvis.
Yeah, and I just like finished the movie by myself in the basement, and I'm like, wow, it's really didn't play
so much like our experience watching it last night.
Yeah, you can just tell, when you're excited to show friends a movie, and then you have them over, and you can just tell that it's dying. The movie
that is the
bombing.
worst feeling in the world.
And you start, second guessing yourself. Like, am I wrong about this movie?
No, It's the children that are wrong.
Well, I do you remember on New Year's Eve I got you to watch Charlie's Angels Full Throttle, and we didn't even finish it because it was the third movie of the night. But I feel like I spent all that viewing just apologizing for the movie.
Yeah, and I was so not into it.
I love Full Throttle.
It's so stupid, though.
I remember nothing that happens in it, though.
Yeah, but if you watch it again,
I watched it this year.
The third film in a night when you've been drinking wine and champagne.
Though. Yeah, you wouldn't watch that one last.
It's like turning on torque, and your energy level is really low.
Yeah, I think we made it like halfway through it.
Yeah, I just went right to. I'm just going to bed.
And then I was up later because I was Zoom calling with some friends, and then I went back to it, and I didn't finish it either. I was like, I don't even want to.
I gotta say, Hudson Hawk is definitely not a film I would recommend to my friends to watch. Even though actually my friends love Hudson Hawk. I mean, the good ones do.
The good ones. The ones that you want to keep as friends.
I mean, we've joked that we want to put up posters around Toronto. This has been for years. I think I've told you the story before. That says Hat Convention in July. And then it just says like the address. And we'll get to why that's a Hudson Hawk reference.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would get that.
I understand that joke now.
Yes.
But man, watching it with April last night it just brought me back to that time where my family just walked away. Anytime except
Colin
she couldn't.
has not seen his family since.
I just kept looking over to her, and a joke would just bomb, and then she would just make the fake kind of crying face. Like,
so I've heard Daniel Waters talk about this movie, and he said that like the script was like 300 pages because every joke had like 4 alternates like printed in the script that could be said.
I don't think Bruce Willis is good at comedy.
Oh, he is not. No,
good at writing comedy.
I mean, let's
comedy.
paint a history picture here. Where is Bruce Willis in his fame when Hudson Hawk comes out in 1991? So this had just been followed by Mortal Thoughts. I don't know that movie.
Moral Thoughts?
From 1991. A Demi Moore Bruce Willis joint.
Oh, Jesus.
I don't know that one.
And
that
The
renamed?
Bonfire of the Vanities. And Look Who's Talking 2 and Die Hard. Two.
Die Hard 2.
Yeah.
Die Hard 2, the only good movie about.
Wow, that's the better of all those movies.
But I guess in 1991, he's 2 years removed from Moonlighting, which was like the series that made him super famous. And
That's
Die Hard,
crazy.
of course.
So Die Hard, the first one, what was that, like 86?
88.
88. Wow,
Yeah.
okay.
So he was shooting Moonlighting when Die Hard came out.
Wow, okay. So, well, he obviously had some clout if he could get this movie made. I mean,
But wasn't he
Jesus.
trying to get this made for a long time and no one
For a long
wanted to
time.
make it?
Well, the backstory, the person that he wrote the script with is Robert Kraft. And Robert Kraft, if you look, he's got over 100 credits on IMDb as like the musical executive at like Disney, like, Disney musicals and stuff
Wow.
like that. He was the musical executive at Fox for years and years, but he was playing in a band way back in, I think it was like the early 80s in Greenwich Village, where he would play at a bar and Bruce Willis was a bartender, and Bruce Willis would jump up on stage and play the harmonica, the harp as it's known.
the harp?
The harp.
Two blues brothers, if you will.
And I guess they started a friendship, and then Robert Kraft had a song called the Hudson Hawk. And, Bruce Willis is like, what's that song about, pal? And he's like, oh, it's about, the Hudson River has this cold wind that blows and they call it the Hawk. And he's like, when we're both famous and I'm on a show called Moonlight and we're going to write a script called Hudson Hawk.
But I'm going to call myself Bruno at the time.
Oh, I think, Robert Kraft produced, I think, one or two of Bruce Willis's
Do you know
concerts.
what the Bruno albums are, April?
I know of them.
Okay.
I know the return of Bruno.
Yeah,
Wait.
He's back, finally.
Wasn't it a cartoon?
Yes, there was a kid's cartoon with little Bruno in it.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yep.
Was Bruce Willis the voice?
No, definitely not. I can't imagine. It was called Bruno the Kid, and somehow it came out in 1996. Was Bruno Fever still going on at
Way
that point?
after he initially had the Bruno craze.
Holy shit! Bruce Willis did do the voice for Bruno
Oh,
the
my
Kid.
God. Oh, my
Wow.
Of
God.
course, you can't do a Bruno without.
Can you not? That's
Bruno
when
the
it's
Kid.
just like his cachet is so spent that they're just like, all right, we'll make this Bruno, but it's got nothing to do with Bruce Willis.
The thing that nobody liked. Let's bring it back. But now
I'm
he's a
available.
kid, I guess.
Hey, you should do a Bruno now.
Oh, he should definitely.
They
And they can
already did
reboot
it.
it, and like Shia LaBeouf can be the kid Bruno.
They would confuse it with the Sacha Baron Cohen Bruno.
That's
No, I think, you think a lot of people showed up to the Sacha Baron Cohen Bruno and were like, can't wait to see my favorite musician back up on the big screen.
Bruce is back, baby.
They just see it on the marquee. Bruno's back.
The
He's
return
back,
of the
baby.
return of Bruno.
That's what they should call it. Sacha Baron Cohen should do the sequel, and it should be called the Return of Bruno. But it's got like the umlaut over the U.
Yeah,
so
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, but then he plays the Bruce Willis character the entire time.
That could be fun.
He's just got this
do
floppy
it.
hat, and like he plays the harmonica.
So let's get back to Hudson Hawk. So this was a mega production because it reteamed Bruce Willis with Stephen E.D. Souza, the writer of Die Hard, and it was also produced by Joel Silver, the mega
Silver,
producer
yeah.
behind Die Hard as well.
Again.
Yeah, so Stephen D'Souza, he directed the Street Fighter movie, the
Yes,
Jean-Claude
he
Van
did.
Damme.
Yep.
But, okay, so he's popped up on the podcast, I feel like, once or twice. It's like a screenwriter.
I don't remember what he made.
Or something that we've maybe done, or April, you and I have seen that.
I'm not sure, but I feel like the other day, or maybe it was on another podcast, his name has come up before.
Yeah.
The director of Street Fighter.
Anytime his name comes up, I always do the Leo DiCaprio.
Oh, didn't we do
snap.
Judge Dredd? He wrote the screenplay for Judge Dredd.
There you
Oh,
go.
yeah, there you
we
go.
did that.
There you go. So it's quality. And story by Bruce Willis.
Yep, probably written on a napkin, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Handed it
All
off.
right, here's my ideas. But yeah, the making of this was legendary. It was kind of like, Waterworld or any one of those like
You mean it went horribly over budget?
the ego bombs.
Oh, basically,
was-
like Bruce Willis, even though it was passion project, seemingly did not want to do anything in the
God.
film at all.
Really?
Like, wouldn't say certain lines. Just wasn't committed to the project at all.
Wow, so he was like that back then too.
Yep,
It's
he
not just a
was.
modern day thing.
Wow.
Wow.
He's like, oh, this is bad. And I mean, they got great action direction director Michael Lemmon, right off of, I guess, Heathers, right? Did he direct one thing before that? Well, did he do like Meet the Apple?
He did something
Meet the Applegates. Yes, he did that right before Hudson Hawk. The one where isn't it like Craig? Ed Begley Jr. plays like cockroach people.
Oh God,
what are you talking about?
Yeah, so he did Heathers, and then he went on to do Airheads. But he's mostly a TV director. He did a lot of like Larry Sanders Show and
Airheads.
He made Airheads after Hudson Hawk, 2 years after.
But he had a huge like TV career after, and still works today. He did like episodes of True Blood and The Terror, which was that I think an AMC show.
The show I didn't want to watch.
Yeah, the horror show.
Yeah, it was really good.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, the first season, then people, they didn't really talk about the second one.
Yeah, he didn't even know it was out.
Yep, it's out, it's done. Exactly. But, most importantly, this teamed up Lemmon with the writer of Heathers, Daniel Waters.
Oh, okay.
Wait, did you not pick this on purpose? Because it has the same writer of the movie that you originally wanted to do?
Is it really?
Yeah, no, I think you were just thinking Vanity Project.
Oh, yeah. The previous film, people can guess if they go through his filmography, has the same writer as Hudson Hawk.
Wow,
Daniel
holy
Waters.
shit, I didn't know.
See, I think you subconsciously knew.
I'm like, wow, okay, what's the next best thing that I can think of?
Next thing.
But
Let's roll those
Bruce
dice and see what can come up.
Yeah, the only story that I heard about this, because Industrial Light and Magic, ILM, did the visual effects.
This is the best story.
This is legendary from people in the industry. This was done in 1991, so things like wire removal and, things you can do very easily in Adobe After Effects these days wasn't commonplace back then, and it was very, very expensive to do stuff like that frame by frame. So I guess during dailies or watching one of the edits, Bruce Willis had noticed like his bald patch, that he was going bald, and hired ILM. I don't know if he paid with his own money or just used like the production budget or something, but paid them to like frame by frame digitally erase his bald spot in all the scenes, and it ended up costing I think over $1 million. It was so expensive.
Well, that kind of thing happens now all the time. But are you saying this may have been like one of the
Are
first
you trying
instances?
to say that somebody had to remove Vin Diesel's double chin in the Fast and the Furious movies?
That's not what I was thinking of specifically.
Chin Diesel, you mean?
I've heard Colin and other people have told me lots of stories of actors who want things removed.
Yeah, this is one. Well, there was an actor recently, one of the movies that I worked on at my old office.
I guess you can't say.
It was an actor / director. He was also directing the movie, and he was an asshole, and he also wanted hair fixes and didn't want to pay for them. And we said, no, we have to charge you for this. And then he just said, fine, and would cut out the shots from the edit.
Ugh.
Was it Chin Diesel? Was he like, I'm going bald?
You'll never guess what movie we're even talking about funny, because most people have forgotten.
Yeah, it's funny now to think of Bruce Willis doing that, like where his hair is now, and like, I wonder if he's like still trying that. Yeah, I don't want people to know that I'm bald. So he has to bring like Pixar in to put like a hair on it.
Like every new Bruce Willis film, they have to digitally add hair to him. Bruce refuses to wear a wig.
26 million. What the hell are you talking about? I'm not paying for that shit.
He's so noticeably balding in this movie. Like, who cares about the back of your head?
You can see the hair just like falling away as he's just going through the film.
It's being blown away by the hawk.
Yeah, the hawk stole my hair in the movie's about getting it back. All right, we haven't even started talking about the plot of this movie.
I want to talk about the posters, like the pre-advertising for this movie.
I saw that at IMDb. There's nothing but gigantic letters saying
it's the classic Darkman gambit.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh.
Yep, where it's like, who is Darkman? It's like, I don't know. Who is he?
But it was like, catch the excitement, catch the adventure, catch the hawk.
It's like, who is this hawk fellow, this Gabbo I keep hearing about?
Yeah, and it sounds like some sort of like STD or something. It's like,
please see your doctor if you've caught the hawk.
Also, Hawk is usually like a Native American guy.
Are you trying to say that Bruce Willis doesn't have some indigenous blood in him?
Well, he does have an earring in this movie.
He
has several.
He's got 4 earrings in this movie.
He's got the Harrison Ford going.
Oh, God. The latter-day Harrison Ford. Yeah, so you'd see these like standees in... I don't even know if they do those anymore in movie theaters, do they? Like the big standee
they did.
displays?
I've seen standees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Willis, he's coming.
But it would just be a picture of him like swinging across. Like, what is this about? So... Do you want to start talking about the movie?
So what you're saying is they spent a lot on advertising.
There was a lot. This movie
this was
a huge
supposed
bomb.
to be a huge movie.
Yeah, I think this was this sunk TriStar Pictures.
Oh,
They eventually had to be bailed out by Sony, but this was the one. And it was like in the IMDb trivia, it was like Hawk cooks TriStar's goose.
Well, like I know that this is 1991, and today this would never be greenlit because it's not a franchise, it's not a known property.
It's supposed to start a franchise.
It could be a franchise.
I guess back then it was more likely to be made.
It's the best adaptation of Lupin the Third ever made. Are you guys familiar with that cartoon?
I've never seen that.
I only am now because people keep talking about it, but I didn't know what it was before.
Is he like an international like cat burglar?
Yeah, he is. He's like a thief. Yeah, a famous thief. So
there's been like a bajillion like mangas and animes, and then they just made a CGI movie about
He's
him.
got like the white suit, right? Is that his
no, he has a green or red suit. A lot of people got to know him because of the Castle of Cagliostro, which was a Miyazaki movie.
Which was named after the character Cagliostro from Spawn.
That's right. Okay,
100%. And I mean, Steven Spielberg has admitted he stole a lot for Raiders from the Lupin the Third stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a big, big deal.
Yeah, but does he play the harp? Does he play the harmonica?
No, he does not, which makes that pure Willis. Well, the movie opens, and we get, Bruno's back, and by that I mean the Hawk, because he just got out of jail.
No, the movie opens in freaking Leonardo da Vinci, Italy.
The movie opens the way all good movies do, with a book opening, letting us know a tale is about to be told.
Like, this is like something from Princess Bride. I have no...
from the classic Jean-Claude Van Damme film, The Quest.
The Quest, right.
Yeah, but like knowing nothing about this movie, I asked Colin, I was like, is this a period piece? Because I thought that maybe it was. And we're here forever before we get to Bruno. Yeah. And it's like...
the Hawk.
It's horribly... did I say Bruno?
Yeah, you did. We've Bruno-fested your brain.
Anyway, it's just like horribly cheesy, and I felt like I was watching like an episode of Xena.
Yeah, it's so bad, but it's like it goes back in time.
It does feel like Xena, yeah.
It does. It's so bad, and even like the makeup on Leonardo, I was going to say DiCaprio, is so bad. It's like Leonardo da Vinci, and he's creating this. He wants to finish this famous bronze statue, but they've run out of bronze, so he wants to create a machine that will convert lead to bronze. But the machine ends up...
he
wants to convert it to bronze, but it ends up converting it to gold instead. And then he sort of realizes, like, he's got this sort of intricate crystal in the middle of the machine that kind of filters sunlight. So
since when was Da Vinci an alchemist?
He wasn't.
Was he? No, he wasn't. Was he? Okay.
I don't know.
But we also see him working on a flying machine, Chekhov's flying machine. I wonder if it'll play a part in the climax.
We also see him working on the Mona Lisa, and she has bad teeth. Like,
But this is played up. So yeah, he's kind of like looking at the lead and gold and kind of realizes like, the power. But he realizes it's best to split up the crystal into 3 separate pieces. But this feels like a kid's movie at the beginning. Really did. And just with the narration, like you can just picture like Peter Falk like doing the narration. Yeah, it was the Hudson Hawk back then. Blah, blah, blah.
I was hoping that Bruce Willis would do the narration himself. I was like, you're probably wondering how we got here.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, a lot of this movie felt like a kid's movie, except there's some swearing. And there's like a little bit of violence.
I believe the film is rated R because they drop some F-bombs, don't they?
There's motherfucker.
They could have easily cut those
there
out.
Is a...
it's so weird.
Yeah, there's some slurs that are spit out as well.
There's like a throat slashing. There's
remember any
It's
slurs?
Such a weird mishmash of tones. It goes from almost like a Bugs Bunny cartoon, screwball
you know what
cartoon.
It is? It's a Hong Kong movie. That's what this film is.
That's what it felt like.
Well, I was also thinking like a silent, like a Harold Lloyd, Buster Keaton thing.
Yeah, if he said motherfucker in the text cards.
And I think that's what they were going for, but I didn't get it throughout the movie. I didn't get it until the very end, where I was finally worn down by the movie and was just like, okay, just do whatever.
I mean, the movie ends with the best joke where we'll get to it. When they're like, how'd you survive this? It's like, yeah, that probably happened.
But like the tone up until then was. It was confusing to me. I didn't buy what it was selling, and I wasn't sure what it was selling, so therefore I couldn't get on board.
It was selling the star power of Bruno.
But it was that when I was trying to watch that Bollywood movie Doom, and if you're the tone is so specific, and if you're just not in the right mood, or if you just don't click with it, it's so obnoxious.
Well, I think specific is maybe the wrong word. More like all over the place.
Yeah.
Each one of its many tones is very specific.
Well, so after this whole sequence with Da Vinci setting up the important plot points, I guess, we jump to the Hawk himself getting out of jail. Do they talk about why he got in jail? I don't think so. It doesn't really matter,
I think it's later said that James Coburn set him up.
Right. And so this sets up the running theme in the movie that all Hudson Hawk wants is a cappuccino.
Yeah.
He doesn't drink alcohol. He likes cappuccino.
Yeah, because he's a cool guy.
Yeah, he's getting out of jail, and even his parole officer is immediately trying to get him in on another, to rob like the art gallery or something like that.
Like as he's letting him out of jail.
I've listened to Daniel Waters talk about this movie, and a running gag throughout the picture is that he had like a pet monkey that died.
Who, Hudson Hawk?
Yeah, and it was supposed to be brought up throughout the film to the point that at the end, when a villain gets killed, you can still see in the movie that an image of a pet monkey is on his forehead.
What?
Yes.
So it just got cut? This whole monkey
got
subplot?
Cut. Yep. So I assume this is when we would be introduced to his pet monkey. Instead, we're introduced to Danny Aiello, everyone's favorite funny man, not to be confused with Mike Starr. I always get both of them confused.
It's true, but you know what? I like Danny Aiello. He's good in this. He's been in Do the Right Thing and Little Italy. And I don't know what else, but this is.
That covers the whole gamut of his career. I think.
Was he in the Untouchables or like a Godfather movie?
I don't know. I don't remember. Yeah.
I don't know. He was something.
He's definitely not in Dumb and Dumber. That's Mike Starr.
Yeah, he plays Tommy Five Tone.
That's right.
It's like the Hawk's old friend, so he picks him out of prison. They own a bar together.
Called the Five Tone, right?
Called the Five Tone.
Yeah, and the bar's changed. It's all hip and filled with yuppies now, but it doesn't matter because finally Hawk can have a sip of his cappuccino, but then blammo! It's shot out of his hands, and we're introduced to the other charisma dynamo of this film.
Frank Stallone.
Oh, I'd forgotten he was in this movie.
I was happy to see Frank Stallone. Not to say it was a good performance, because it wasn't, but nice to see his visage.
He plays one of the Mario brothers.
Yeah, see, that's a joke, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
they bring up Nintendo.
Later, they're like, let's play Nintendo. God.
And he's like,
the humor.
What's Nintendo?
Yeah.
He doesn't know.
That's again, see, my issue with this movie is if the music was maybe a little different, or if the editing was faster, it would be a spoof movie. But it has spoof movie gags, but it's not that. It doesn't go far enough, and the gags aren't as often. So remember the scene where Danny Aiello breaks a bottle of wine over other Mario Brothers' head, and it's like serious. And I was like, is this supposed to be serious? Because if it would be serious, he'd be dead.
Well, it's funny because he breaks the bottle over the guy's head and the whole bar just stops to look. But meanwhile, a few minutes earlier, Bruce Willis just has the cappuccino shot out of his hand by a gun, and nobody even reacts in the bar from across the room.
That's the joke. That's a classic cartoon thing. Like,
exactly.
it's like the cat that's trying to get around the dog, and he crashes a bunch of things, and then like he goes achoo, and then the dog wakes up.
Yeah.
See, if that's the joke, then it wasn't obvious enough.
It doesn't quite find the tone, you know what I mean? But
or the timing, I guess.
Yeah, so Frank Stallone also wants him to pull off this heist as well, the same one as the probation officer. And he's like, yeah, it's really easy. Like, you just get in, you get out. And then Bruce Willis says, yeah, it's like instructions so simple, even your brother could follow them. And then April is like, hey, you talking about Sly Stallone?
Oh, you talking about me?
Yeah. But no, he's like, he threatens him. So he's like, oh, I guess I got to do this job now.
Yeah, he kind of looks at the bar when they're all leaving, and then his probation officer kind of waves at him. So they're all kind of like in on it. And so I guess he's like, he talks to Danny Aiello afterwards. It's like, yeah, we got to do this heist, pal. And I guess another running gag is they keep like listing off like song names, and then Bruce Willis will just say like the length of the song, like 3 minutes 25 seconds, blah blah blah.
So I think that's supposed to be Hudson Hawk's like superpower, knowing
it's his
how
gimmick,
long songs
because
are.
they go and they do this heist, and basically the magic of it is they time the heist out by singing a song while they do it.
Yeah, they don't synchronize watches. It's kind of a cute little
it's cute,
gag.
but also they're singing really loud,
Yeah.
and it's like, you're supposed to be sneaky.
Yeah,
guys.
and Bruce Willis is going around on a skateboard, and he does not go cowabunga like he should.
Also, they're dancing all over the place, and it's like they're not being sneaky.
No, and then the editing kind of cuts ahead, even though they're still sort of singing, in sequence, blah blah blah. Anyway, it's the magical fun of the movie. But
there is an insane edit at the end of the sequence. That every time I see this movie, I'm like, what the hell?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I
it's very jarring.
I thought that the movie skipped.
Yeah, you think, but at the beginning when they're like infiltrating the art gallery, they're on the skateboards and they're kind of sneaking by the security guards. But you kind of get a minute with the security guards to sort of chatting beforehand, and the guy's reading the phone book and he says, do you know that like 20,000 Wongs in the phone book? And then the guy says like, wow, that's a lot of Wong numbers. And then the soundtrack.
Oh god,
It goes terrible.
Like,
How dare
holy
they?
shit.
It just made me think of that that Simpsons joke where it's like a gorilla. They're like,
like a gorilla.
yeah, that's the joke. That's the joke.
Is that even a song, or is that just some?
It's called
that
Chopsticks.
racist like Chinese
Chopsticks.
signifier? I don't think it's a song.
It's called Chopsticks.
Is that what it is?
Is it?
Dun, 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 dun.
Oh
Ugh.
Jesus! Yeah, you always just see it. I'm surprised they didn't have like a gong sound or something.
What is this? A John Hughes movie? Okay, so anyway, the crazy edit is they steal the thing, horsey, and they jump.
Oh yeah, they steal a little horse.
Yeah, they jump onto a
It's like an awning.
and they're making jokes about Danny Aiello is too big or whatever, and it's like it's
they
obvious.
make jokes of Danny Aiello being fat throughout the entire film.
Yeah, I mean when he's in a scene, there's a fat joke about it. But so they fall through this awning, and it just cuts to Bruce Willis falling into a lazy boy chair.
Yeah, and then his head is like wobbling, like like
Isn't
a cartoon.
there like a bunch of dust and stuff that falls as well?
I think so,
Like-
yeah. And I remember being confused every time I saw this in the theater because it always like feels like they fell through the awning, through the floor into a chair.
Into
No,
a chair, yes.
It was just a creative edit, so it's almost like we don't know how to get out of this scene, so let's just not show what happened.
For sure. It's like you got so much banter ahead of you. You want to move ahead. Let's skip
you
all
wanna
the
save
boring
some banter
stuff.
for later on.
Man, if you are not into banter, you're gonna hate this movie because it's just nonstop.
If you're into subtle performances, I got two actors that are about to show up soon. Oh boy.
God. Let's get to it. So
Well, we're introduced to the butler in this scene,
Yeah.
who slits the throat of the Mario Brothers with his blade that pops out of his sleeve.
Yeah, this is like a henchman to somebody that you don't know yet. And they kind of refer to him as Jeeves because he kind of, he's exactly
like a
what you
butler,
expect from like
English
a
butler.
old English butler. Like I say it. He takes the statue and breaks it, and then one of the crystals, one of the pieces of Da Vinci's crystals are inside, which is going to get very confusing in just a second. So you're realizing, okay, whatever. He leaves, and then there's an auction is happening tonight. So Danny Aiello,
Yeah, and the horse that they stole is still being auctioned off.
yeah, it says
As
in the
if it didn't
newspaper
get
that
stolen.
an attempted robbery.
I guess they made a fake of it.
I guess that's the implication. So then
knows?
Bruce Willis shows up at this auction and sits next to Andy McDowell. And then you see Richard E. Grant come in as well, and Sandra Bernhardt.
You see and hear Richard E. Grant come in.
My God.
'Cause let's talk about Richard E. Grant and Sandra Bernhardt in this movie.
Yeah.
Well, I don't mind Richard E. Grant that much because I've kind of seen him play characters like this before. It's completely high
You
camp.
don't mind
And-
Richard E. Grant?
Sometimes it can work, but Sandra Bernhard, I just wanted to
She's so obnoxious.
blow my brains out watching and listening to her.
Well, I got to say, Richard E. Grant is probably my favorite thing in this movie because I think he knows what he's in, and I think he's playing.
He has a natural charm.
He's kind of like that anyway in a lot of his other movies. Like he just plays it so well, that sort of manic personality.
Well, like I was reminded a little bit of a movie I watched recently called Josie and the Pussycats. Pussycat?
Yeah,
Dolls?
Josie and the
Josie and the
Pussycats.
Pussycats. And that movie has a similar campy tone. And why does it work so well in that movie and not in this movie? I'm not entirely sure. But the Richard E. Grant character is kind of like the Alan Cumming character in that movie.
Yeah.
They're just these over-the-top maniacal villains who are like, campy, and it's just over the top, as I said.
I would say that it probably doesn't work here because they just riff forever, just endlessly.
And I think if he was the only character, it might be good. But I think because they pair him up with Sandra Bernhard, and she's also trying to do that level of crazy energy,
too much.
It's too much. It just becomes really, really obnoxious.
Yeah, you got to have one crazy character and one subtle character. That's how comedy works, Mr. Willis.
What you're saying, like he directed the movie.
So, like, there's some weird stuff that happens in this auction scene because bombs go off. Someone gets crushed by a pillar.
Yeah, so he's looking around the room, and he introduced to all the characters that you're going to see for the rest of the movie. He looks around and he sees like David Caruso eating a Kit Kat, and then all these other people eating different candy bars like Butterfinger, Almond Joy. He doesn't know what's going on.
Snickers.
But then, it turns out that Annie McDowell is actually kind of assuring the authenticity of this bronze statue. And she says it's the real one. And then Richard E. Grant blows up the auction for some reason.
Yeah, the auction. I forgot how many people explode in this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The auctioneer explodes, right? Because doesn't he knock down? He's like, sold, and then he blows up.
Yeah, so I guess it was in the gavel, I guess.
So then...
No, he just had explosive diarrhea. Too many beans. And it was just his time to go. It's a coincidence that he hit the gavel at the same time. Yeah, too many enchiladas. Shouldn't have had that sushi.
Oh, God.
But yeah, so they make a little love connection in this scene. That's what's important.
Yeah, Andy McDowell and Bruce Willis, not the auctioneer that explodes in Bruce Willis.
Yeah, so they, and then, what is he, like knocked unconscious or something like that? Or is he introduced to James Coburn?
I don't remember what happens. All I remember is that at some point Bruce Willis meets James Coburn and he ends up in a ambulance.
There's a big ambulance chase.
Yeah, basically Bruce Willis falls out of an ambulance on a gurney, and there's a big chase scene as he just
actually,
I think some of the funniest jokes in the movie are him on the gurney.
Yeah,
like there's a toll booth coming, and he goes through his pockets for enough
the change. There's two gags that made me crack up. Was the lady like throws the cigarette out the window, and he grabs it and takes a haul, and he's like, "Ooh, menthol." And then
I couldn't get on board.
And then he looks over to the side, and some girl's like, "Hey, mister, are you like gonna die?"
Yeah, that's good.
It's not a very good line.
And then so the Mario brothers are in the ambulance. They end up like exploding, and then he's sort of trundling by, and he's like,
everyone's exploding.
The one guy has like 20 needles in his face. That was funny, I guess.
It's so horrifying.
Yeah. But he's like, Caesar, so and so, are you all right? And then the ambulance blows up. It's really funny.
And then I think that like his gurney that he's on just comes to a stop. He gets out, meets James Coburn again, and there's a funny guy where they shoot him with a tranquilizer dart, and there's already a box filled with like
packing peanuts or something.
Popping peanuts that he lands in.
Yeah, I mean, this is where he introduces all of the secret agents who
Yes.
are chocolate bar names.
Yeah, we were introduced to James Coburn, and it seems that Bruce Willis's character has a history with him. He's the guy who set Hudson Hawk up to get arrested in the first place. But then James Coburn's like, "Don't you recognize me? I've got a nose job. I've had facial plastic surgery. Why couldn't they just have known one another? I don't know. But
that was a joke.
I guess. So James Coburn is a CIA agent, and
are you the CIA? Because they're like, oh, now we changed our name. Now we're the CIB or something.
It was the MTVIA or something like that. Because all the agents are young and they all have candy bar names. So Butterfinger is like this big lumbering oaf.
At one point, he goes, "Do you want me to rape her?" And it's like, oh boy.
No, he said rape him.
Rape him, yeah.
Yeah, because that's so much better. I had real big problems with that joke. Maybe we just talk about that now. How is that a joke? Can someone explain that?
It's not a joke.
It's not. It's just, I guess, to show how much of an idiot he is. He's so
idiots rape people?
I get, but he said, they're just sitting in this car. I'm like, what do we do? Do you want me to rape him?
Anyway, I don't like any of these characters, and I don't understand why they are doing anything.
No, so the plot is very confusing.
I don't know who their allegiance is to.
Yeah.
And they half the time they're helping Bruce Willis, half the time they're trying to kill him.
They want gold because basically they hire Bruce Willis to steal the last crystal, I guess, from the Vatican.
The two last ones.
Yes.
But then it's implied that they're working in cahoots with the Vatican to prevent the Mayflowers, which is Richard E. Grant and Sandra Bernhardt, from getting, the actual device together. But then it turns out that the CIA is everyone's double-crossing everybody in this movie.
Well, why were they all eating their own chocolate bars in the previous scene?
Hey, that's just their shtick.
It's visual
April, isn't that like wearing your band's T-shirt? That's real passé.
Yeah, but one of the funny gags is one of the characters or agents is David Caruso, a very young David Caruso, and he plays a character called Kit Kat, who is mute. And he's always in disguise in every scene. So there's one scene where he's actually disguised as like a statue.
There's one in every group, isn't there?
And then one scene where he's actually dressed up as Bruce Willis, as Hudson Hawk. And he's like mimicking him. And he has little cards that he gives out to people and says like what he's thinking. It's pretty funny.
Classic Groucho humor.
I'm going to have to pick something that was my favorite thing. And I do not have anything.
Are you going to pick the dog voiced by Frank Welker?
Was it really?
Yes, it was. I just saw it on IMDb.
Speaking of the dog, okay, I have my favorite thing.
Bunny
We'll get to it. Okay, so he ends up in Rome, and then the rest of the movie takes place in Rome. Mm-hmm. It's actually shot there, so that's kind of neat. There's all these outdoor locations.
So, did I have a stroke, or I always forget, like, does he end up robbing the Vatican? Because you don't see it, do you?
He does, because...
It's off camera, I believe.
No, there's like
Yes, I believe...
Wait, but what about the one where he robs the second thing, and then he's on the roof, and the Pope is like watching Mr. Ed on TV?
That was the Vatican. May have zoned out, but like, are you talking about the book? Right?
No, he steals the codex. Yeah, isn't that the book?
Yeah, the codex. Well, because I know that Daniel Waters said that they wrote a big Vatican like heist sequence was like there were supposed to be like 7 safes and they're rotating.
Yeah, so that was the one where he's scoping it out. Andy McDowell is doing the tour. And then he's scoping.
I remember that part.
Yeah, and he said and then he writes a list down of all the things that he wants, like olive oil, mirrors, like sulfuric acid, blah blah blah.
And then the Kit Kats or whatever.
And then it's the 2 Italian guards. They're eating like pasta out of their like thermoses, and
the Choco bars show up and say, "Get him whatever he needs."
Yeah, so then make this list happen. And so he's robbing it, and then he's like escaping with the codex, and he's going down the roof and grabs onto the TV antenna, and it cuts the Pope. He's watching Mr. Ed, and it's like all the static on the TV, and he's like hitting it with his staff. It's pretty funny.
Classic Pope.
It's like
humor.
Classic comedy, guys. I don't know why you're not, you don't like this.
Hey, I'm into it.
Well, so after that scene, because I feel like we just like ended up at Andy McDowell's apartment, and he just has like the book there. And she's like, oh my God, you stole it.
As he's escaping, he jumps off the roof and lands. He lands on a truck with like a chicken coop on top.
That scene.
Yeah, no, and then doesn't he jump off and like land at the date he was supposed to have with Andy McDowell?
Yeah, it's like this outdoor cafe, and then he's covered in like chicken feathers.
Yeah, that scene that made me automatically think silent movie. Like that was like a silent movie gag. Like he just the truck goes by and then he just plops down and he's on and she's like, you're 5 minutes late or whatever. Like
but then it like genuinely funny thing is they cut to like it's like another table, but all the chocolate bar agents are at this table, and then Butterfinger looks over at the two of them and he's like, to be in Paris and in love. they're like, we're not in Paris, this is Rome. And then he starts like yelling at the waiter. He's like, this is Paris, you gotta have French fries.
Yeah, wasn't that the gag? Someone was like, you don't have French fries, this is Paris. And the other lady's like, we're in Rome.
We're in Rome. To be in Paris and in love.
I guess.
That's good stuff. April, how do you not love this movie?
I guess.
Well, I was laughing.
Hey, April, did you pick a favorite part yet? I think you kind of glossed over it.
I'm getting to it. It's the untimely demise of the dog.
Bunny. So
And I can't believe I'm condoning animal violence, but we'll get to it. It's
so
later.
the Mayflowers have this dog called Bunny, and like in every scene they always say Bunny, ball, and they throw the tennis ball and it runs after it.
And it's horribly obnoxious.
But then there's
joke is that Bunny thinks Bruce Willis's massively inflamed testicles are also balls.
Yeah, and then he well, I don't know when. I guess this already happened. The scene where the dog like licks his balls.
I think it just grabs them, and he's like, "Oh, Bunny ball,"
and then he's like, "Oh, give me 5 more minutes, and then I would have come in my pants." That's basically what he says. And then I was like, "Well, I don't find that funny because they did the same joke in America's Sweethearts 10 years later, which I've seen." So
wait,
yeah, but Hudson Hawk did it first.
Yeah,
Thank you
they
very
did do
much.
it first, but Billy Crystal ruined that joke for me.
Billy Crystal ruined a lot of jokes. Jazz man.
So then it turns out, so the bad guys end up with the Codex, and the Codex is just a book, by the way. It's not very big at all, and so apparently Leonardo hid one of the crystal pieces. This crystal is a pretty good size. It's like the size of a grapefruit, and the Codex somehow has the crystal in it. Like they cut open the cover of the book, not the thick part of the book that you could hollow out and put something in, but James Coburn cuts the back of the cover open, which is like half a centimeter thick, and pulls this gigantic crystal out of it.
It's Da Vinci. He can change time and space.
Yeah, maybe it's like a TARDIS.
Or maybe that was a joke.
Yeah, TARDIS. April has asked so many times, is that a joke?
Because I'm confused if things are supposed to be jokes or not, which is bad.
Well, I kept looking over at her whenever a joke would bomb, just to let her know that it was a joke.
Oh, yeah. That's
and then she would make the crying face. But there's one point where...
I wish I was watching Black Devil Doll.
That is a better movie, better soundtrack.
At least that movie's romantic.
Yeah. Hey, this is set in Paris. So there is one point when James Coburn cuts open the Codex, whatever, and then they're leaving the building. I think Andie MacDowell's like getting let out, and she looks over, and then Bunny, the dog, is like peeing on somebody's car. And I had to rewind it. I'm like, okay, hold on a second. I rewound it.
It's not a real dog.
It is so obviously a puppet dog.
Pretty funny.
It's like frozen in the pee.
This dog cost us $2 million.
Yeah.
That was an animatronic made by
ILM.
The Jim Henson Company.
Oh, we had some leftover digital hair from Bruce Willis's bald touch-ups that we made a dog. It's just like a puppet dog that's frozen in the peeing position, and like it's being shaken somehow by like, I don't know, a string from off screen or something.
I didn't see it moving.
Carlo Rambaldi made it.
Frank Welker.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was Frank Welker. That's so funny.
Anytime you see a Hollywood movie and there's an animal making noise, it's probably Frank Welker.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of has the market cornered on animals.
Oh yeah, and yet probably I would love like a feature film about like Frank Welker's like cutthroat in the voice industry.
That would be amazing.
Like, I'm the dog man.
Not for all cartoons. There's other people who do cartoon voices, but if it's a movie,
it's so specific.
Like a live action movie.
Abu in Aladdin, Frank Welker.
Oh yeah, I always crack up when I see his name come up in credits. Yeah, that would be good.
The Simpsons say that they only hire Frank Welker to do Santa's Little Helper when it's like an important scene because he's too expensive.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure Dan does Santa's Little Helper a lot because I can just hear it in his voice.
He does. Dan Castellana, I can't say his name. Homer Simpson's voice. He is seemingly the guy on The Simpsons that like he's always around.
Yeah.
Like he'll do temp tracks, he'll do whatever.
He's just always hanging around the studio.
Yeah, he's always hanging around the studio. He's like, I got nothing else going on.
You know what? He also writes for the show now too. Him and his wife have wrote several scripts.
I wouldn't know because I haven't watched it. Actually, I do know. He wrote the Barney Gets Sober
That's
episode.
right. Yeah.
Oh.
I only know that because I'm a big fan of the Talking Simpsons podcast.
Hey, me too. Talking Simpsons, which I like to point out have had Will Sloan on twice.
I know. Can't they get me
still
on
waiting
there?
by the phone.
Didn't they get enough of him the first time?
Because they don't listen to Important Cinema Club. They only listen to Michael and us. So Luke Savage has also been on there like 10 times. Okay, what were we talking about? The dog?
Let's get ahead because
sorry, I forget. My eyes are filled with tears for being abandoned by a podcast I listen to.
Yeah, so then there's so many this gets so convoluted at this point. So Richard E. Grant like lays out the plan, and then it's kind of like, big action movies. Sometimes you go numb at the end where you're like, what the hell's happening? Yeah, you just kind of shut down, and it's like I can't take any more into my brain.
Yeah, like Bruce Willis in the climax is like fighting James Coburn with martial arts.
Well, the big thing that happens is that Danny Aiello comes back, and he was absent
he betrayed him
for most of the movie.
Yeah, so he was used as bait by the Mayflowers to get Hudson Hawk to kind of get on board with this heist. But then it turns out like the last item that they need, they didn't even use Hudson Hawk. They just blow up the...
They got it anyway somehow.
Yeah, so it's like, why do they even need him? It's so...
The plot is convoluted, and it reeks of like either it's a first draft or it was rewritten too much because it's confusing.
Definitely rewritten too much because Bruce Willis probably wouldn't agree to very much stuff, which is why it's such a mess.
Yeah, and so Danny Aiello is in on it, and then they leave the two of them alone to kind of hash it out, and then they kind of stage this big fight. First of all, they jump off a building
and survive. I guess second time in this movie,
and land on concrete like 50 feet below them. Fine. And they roll down the stairs in front of the Mayflowers and the CIA, and then they pretend to shoot Danny Aiello, and then this is a big scam. It's a double cross. Everyone's double crossing.
Who knows?
God, my head at this point.
I'm not really sure kind of how we get to the final scene.
But we didn't even talk about that. Like Andy McDowell is a nun that's working for the secret agency of the Vatican.
God, yeah. And there's that whole scene where they're paralyzed.
Yeah. Okay, so one of the chocolate bars...
Almond Joy.
She likes to shoot people with darts, and okay, so this is the scene that I hated a lot. So Danny Aiello and Hudson Hawk they're in their apartment and they're paralyzed. So half of the chocolate bars leave, two of them stay, and they're like, okay, we're gonna kill you now. We've stolen Andy McDowell because she knows how to put the puzzle box together. And so they're like, they shoot them with the paralyzed stuff, and they're like, oh, in 2 minutes it'll wear off. But I've got a bomb that's going to go off in 1 minute. So what are they doing? Why are they doing these complicated things, ways of killing them? And so wacky hijinks happen, and the two chocolate bars blow themselves up.
It's because it's fun, April. That's why it's happening.
Clearly you're not a fan of hijinks.
I thought I was.
April is a real somber person. She's like, no fun, no smiles.
It's like there was no setup.
Just let me sit here and pet my cat with a scowl on my face.
Give me like the Naked Gun. That's the kind of hijinks I like.
Yeah.
Give me O.J. Simpson now. That's a comedy superstar.
Oh, God.
But yeah, anyway, I just thought that's where I was really confused about the whole chocolate bar people.
Yeah, they end up with like this gun that shoots.
You know what the argument I'll make for why April, this is not your kind of comedy? If I just have a theory.
Okay.
Because in The Naked Gun, all the actors are playing it straight. That's why it's funny. In Hudson Hawk, everyone is mugging up a storm.
Yeah, especially
which just
Bruce
undercuts
Willis.
the comedy.
Yeah, which is so... And then, immediately it'll cut to somebody getting their throat slashed with blood spraying.
Yeah, and also, like the Almond Joy, she goes to shoot a dart, and then Bruce Willis, like
he blows it back into her mouth.
And then we never see what happens.
Classic Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull.
I know, but I'm just thinking she's dead.
Well, she blows up because she was in the apartment.
But I'm just thinking about that dart that went in her throat.
She's paralyzed.
She's dead.
She
She's
falls
in
down.
pieces.
She falls down. Danny Aiello and Bruce Willis jump out the window as the apartment explodes. So her and Snickers are dead.
Wait. So is that the third time that Danny Aiello and Bruce Willis have jumped out of a window and fall on concrete? I think it is.
Oh, man.
They have asses that are just giant pillows.
They're made of rubber at this point, pretty much.
Firm, big old butts.
Yeah, so then we lead into the final confrontation. It's up in some... it's like Leonardo da Vinci's. I was pausing to make sure I didn't say DiCaprio.
Castle da Vinci.
Yeah, it's the castle of Dane DeHaan.
Dandian.
Yep.
And then it's like another big heist scene. They're all running around singing... What is it?
James Coburn is doing some martial arts.
With a very unconvincing stunt double, by the way.
They're wearing berets.
Yes.
Yep.
So Bruce Willis has 2 fight scenes that are both with men in their 70s. And I'm like, oh, is this supposed to make him look cool? Because he's just beating up old men.
But James Coburn is like kicking him, and he's like, they've sped it up. It looks like something out of The Mask or something.
Yeah, Bruce Willis is like, somebody stop me.
And then he fights
Please,
the butler
no more
guy.
Hudson Hawk.
And the butler guy, who does have a pretty cool sword, and he's
got like double swords.
Yeah, he's good. But
Wait, you forgot that Danny Aiello goes over the cliff in
It's like,
the limo.
Yeah, the Mayflower's
that's
limo.
The scene where you see the photo of the monkey on his head as he's like,
Really?
You see the photo because I think Bruce Willis or Danny Aiello slaps him on the head, and the name of the monkey is Little Eddie. He's like, this is for Little Eddie.
Does he say that?
You don't, not in the movie,
Oh,
but
okay.
in like the deleted
Oh my
scenes, he
God.
did say that. Yeah.
If they left that in the movie, then that's really confusing.
I can't believe there's any deleted scenes.
Oh, they did leave it in the movie. You can see the photo of the monkey on his head.
Okay, I gotta.
If
I'm
you
gonna
look
go back
closely.
and check that.
Well, I only have 24 hours left on my rental of.
Okay, I might not get to checking that, but
Okay,
Only 24 hours.
the important thing is the limo goes off a very large cliff and explodes and is in flames and
And he's like, no, Danny Aiello, I love you in Do the Right Thing. And Little Italy.
And I think one of the Godfathers are the
nothing
Untouchables. And then the double blade guy is dispatched. He's beheaded.
Also,
and then,
have we mentioned that the Mayflowers, they get like copper all over
Sarah
them and
Bernhardt
die.
is brutally
They're
killed.
burned horribly.
Yeah,
So
so
what happens is they get the puzzle box from Andy McDowell.
you're talking like it's a Hellraiser movie.
It's what it looks like
the-
because they're like, I don't know how to put it together, and then Bruce Willis is like, how about this? You're a genius. And Andy McDowell didn't do anything because she's trying to get them to not do it, but it turns out that it was missing a piece.
He kept a small piece, but it's established that there's only 3 pieces to it. It doesn't make sense.
It's
Anyway,
3 big pieces in one small piece.
he put it together wrong, so the whole thing explodes. And yeah, Sandra Bernhardt, and I think Richard E. Grant at some point later is covered by molten gold or something.
Yeah, and it's pretty horrific.
Yeah.
But at least they finally stopped talking, right?
And then my favorite part happens where Hudson Hawk fights the butler and he cuts his head off, which you see in graphic detail, and then he quips, guess you won't be making the hat convention in July.
I get that that's funny, but are there hat conventions?
No, it makes no sense. Number one.
It's just because you're the butler and it's something he would do as a butler. But April,
Yeah, I guess go. But now he can't go to the hat convention because he doesn't have a head.
Yeah.
It's real
That's
thinker.
a real jerk store line. Like,
yeah, it is.
there are no jerk stores.
But then Bunny shows up.
Yeah.
The
So apparently
the
this
dog.
dog is also evil because it's like attacking them. So
it's doing like it has one of those like comedic kind of cutaways of the dog that it's got like a toothpick in its mouth, so it's kind of snarling.
I don't remember how it happens, but it ends up flying out the window.
Yeah, no.
I think he throws the ball out the window and then it goes after.
No,
it.
there's a tennis ball machine which is set up earlier in the movie when Richard E. Grant Chekhov's tennis ball launcher, and he goes Buffy Bubble and
Bunny.
shoots Bunny Ball,
And he shoots the dog, right? And the dog's like, "Arr!"
and there's like a funny dog puppet that gets launched out the window.
I can't remember how it exactly happens, but a dog dummy flies out the window, and it was funny.
And it's spinning in the air.
Yeah.
There's nothing funnier, I think. Like, I love animals. I love dogs and cats. I would never harm one.
No, of
There's
course.
nothing that makes me laugh harder than an animal dummy or something when it's obviously a dummy.
Well, it's the same thing with a
I know
human,
what makes you laugh harder, Colin, and it's right before somebody explodes and it cuts to a dummy of them.
which happens a couple times in this movie.
yeah, and when
Yes, it does.
the 1 or 2 frames
Oh, even better, if the dog exploded and it cut to a dummy of the dog.
yeah, and it's like those 2 frames before someone explodes in a movie where it's obviously a puppet that looks nothing like the person, or just somebody getting launched off, a building, and it's obviously a puppet, and they
Yeah.
hit things on the way down.
Any kind of puppet or dummy, especially if the dummy starts falling apart, then it's
Oh,
just
so
Oh
good.
man, I just laughed.
So
hard.
wait, now McDowell and Bruno are trapped in the castle and it's crumbling for some reason. I don't remember why. And how are they going to get out of here? Well, maybe they will use the flying machine that's on every poster of Hudson Hawk.
Oh God. Yeah. So
Well,
they
like-
Like
ruins the
people went
ending.
into this movie so excited to see a film about Bruce Willis flying the thing.
Bruce Willis flying Leonardo da Vinci's flying machine. See, this is what's confusing. Why all the Da Vinci? I just feel like the Hudson Hawk is like a guy from where is he from? San Francisco or something?
No, he's from Brooklyn, probably.
Yeah,
Brooklyn,
but like, that mixed
Bay.
with all of this like Leonardo da Vinci Rome secret agent stuff I just don't think it gels.
Well, I think that what really works about the movie is Bruce Willis as a performer. He could not look more douchey. To the point that the cover is him going like, "My lady," with this like hat.
Does he have the sunglasses?
Yeah, that cover's bad.
And the little round black glasses he wears.
Yeah.
He wears like a vest over his shirt most of the film.
Yeah, he's very
And the earrings.
The earrings, the 4 earrings, and he's got those like kind of balloonish pants that go up to his nipples.
It was the style.
It was the style at the time.
Well, I think the movie ends in an amazing way with Bruno and McDowell are sitting at a little cafe, and then suddenly Danny Aiello shows up.
On like a mule or something.
And he's like, "I'm alive!" And he's still smoking.
He's still smoking, and he has like little holes in his jacket.
And he's like, "Well, how'd you survive?" He's like, "There was seatbelts on the car."
No, he says,
he's like,
airbags.
That makes sense, I guess.
He says, airbags. Can you fucking believe it?
I thought he said
I
smoke
think-
detector or something.
No, but then they say, but then the fire and the explosion, he's like, they had a sprinkler inside
Yeah,
the
they
limo.
had
Can you
sprinklers.
fucking believe it?
I think that Danny Aiello or Bruce Willis go, "Yeah, that's probably what happened."
It was Bruce Willis.
Most funny hand wave.
That's such a self-aware moment.
Yeah.
And it's a wink at the camera at the end, which I like, but it's the only time in the movie they ever do that.
Yeah, but I don't know. And then we get to the...
So me and Colin, the movie ended, we like jumped to our feet. We're like, "Yeah! Can't wait to share it with all our friends. Excited for the adventures of Hudson Hawk 2.
Yeah, and I would surprise at the end of the credits they didn't have Hudson Hawk will return.
Will return.
Again, that joke
Well,
is from a different type of comedy movie, like a self-aware comedy movie where it
Does the movie
comments on
end with like a
itself.
book closing? It's like, that's the end of the first chapter.
I'm pretty sure it does.
Yeah.
It goes back to the narration.
Because doesn't it turn like the classic, like Bruce Willis turns into like a shitty drawn image
Yes.
in the book?
Yeah, and April asked, why does he look so different? Like he's not dirty. And I'm like,
He's got all his hair.
that's an ILM effect shot because it transitions into that. So I was like, yeah, it does look kind of weird.
I'm sorry, Island.
And that's only the beginning of the story. Wait, so am I supposed to assume that this person reading the book is like post-apocalyptic? Like, this is the new Bible? Like Hudson Hawk?
At the end of the credits, they just show a hand like throwing the book into like a barrel that's on fire. It's burning it.
What was the movie
fireplace.
where you see the book and then there's like a gorilla hand that comes out? Was that
Yes.
Prince or Men in Tights? Maybe?
What?
No, it's one. I think it's Top Secret. It's a Zucker Brothers one because I've seen that gag. I remember that. I've seen that movie a lot.
That
So
would be funny.
So is Colin. So maybe it was another one, but I don't know why I'm thinking of that.
That's pretty
wait,
funny.
have you still not seen Top Secret, Colin?
What was that?
Have you not seen Top Secret?
No, I love Top
Oh,
Secret.
he's seen Top Secret.
Okay.
There's a whole YouTube video of him talking about it.
Oh, it's amazing.
Oh yes.
Classic.
All right, so that
classic
was Hudson
movie.
Hawk.
That's
I think we all
Hudson
shared our
Hawk. Did we
favorite
all
part.
catch the hawk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I'm feverish.
I gotta go to the doctor.
I
and
got
get
hot
tested.
fever.
Yeah. So I wouldn't recommend this movie. I think we're making it sound a lot more exciting than it was.
I would. Anyone who listened to this, everything that we said happens in this movie happens in the movie.
Yeah, and
We're
more.
not overselling it.
But yeah, be in the right mood, I think. But man, if
you just had to be there.
I think so, yeah.
No, 'cause
Yeah,
when the
I was
movie
there.
came out, everybody hated it.
I think if I watched this movie now, well, first of all, I'd be like, wow, Bruce Willis is actually trying, kind of. But I don't think I'd be into it now. I think I would turn it off after 10 minutes. I've turned into my dad. This is my son. My son is like trying to show it to me, and I just sort of, this is the point where I just stand up and walk away and leave my son in the basement.
If it was a music video, like there would be like a shadow of Colin would get up and walk away.
Well, we all have movies like this, the aforementioned Charlie's Angels Full Throttle, where we don't know why we were so
great
obsessed
movie.
with them. Mm-hmm. You know?
But it ends, the end credits have like a song by Dr. John.
That's right.
You know,
How is it not a song by Bruno?
that's what I thought, because as soon as he
Bruno
started
wrote it.
singing, yeah, Bruce Willis wrote it, and then as soon as he started
wrote
singing,
it.
I'm like, oh god, that has to be Bruce Willis.
There is an amazing special feature for this movie on the DVD that's just Bruce Willis on the piano,
God.
and he's like, I don't know why Hudson Hawk didn't do good. Da-la-da-da. And he like plays a few keys. And he answers some questions.
It's because it sucked. Boo-doo-doo-doo.
Ba-doo-boo. Ooh, let me get my jazz flute out.
Does he even play piano?
I'll get my trombone.
Bruce Willis is a master of all musical instruments. That's his real passion, music, and that's why he's always so depressed when he makes movies. I mean, if you really want to appreciate Hudson Hawk, you just got to watch any of Bruce Willis's new movies in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I mean, I will
Jesus
admit
Christ.
that, like, even though he comes off douchey in the movie, it's him at his most charismatic.
Yeah, he would never be like doing banter or making quips or any of this stuff.
Yeah,
No.
I'd have to.
I mean, he doesn't get up out of his chair anymore.
Yeah.
He's in Steven Seagal territory.
I'd have to look back at Bruce Willis's whole filmography. But I think that my favorite Bruce Willis performance is Death Becomes Her. Because he's really...
Oh, he's really funny in Death Becomes Her.
Yeah, he's playing like a loser. He's playing like a Richard Dreyfuss type character. But he's great. And he's funny. And he, like, again, he's doing comedy, but the tone is perfect. I really like that movie. I haven't seen that in a really long time.
He's getting a chance to do his triple take.
Yeah.
He does it. He does a good double take in this movie.
You know, Bruce Willis, it was good in that Wes Anderson film, but then he got fired from a Woody Allen film, I think that same year, because he wouldn't learn his lines.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, jeez.
I remember
So Wes
that.
Anderson, do you think that Wes Anderson, like, put up with his bullshit? Or but he didn't give Wes Anderson bullshit?
Probably the other way. But maybe he like learned his lesson from the Woody Allen thing. But then, you know, Looper was probably like the last thing that I've seen him in where he was.
But
he was
Rian
trying.
Johnson said he had no problems with Bruce Willis making Looper.
It's so. I feel it's just like if he's really into a movie, like if he really wants to do a movie, and I think, you know, as a director, you would probably have to have a sit down with him beforehand. Like, look, I don't want any of this shit.
Well, then he'll either do it or he won't, right?
Yeah, it's like if you're going to do this, you really, really have to want to do this movie. What is that picture?
And as you can see, the thing I just sent you guys on Facebook, Cosmic Sin
What
is
the
a movie
hell?
that is on the schedule, and the cover is insane.
Oh my
That is
God.
his head on someone else's body.
No, that's like a CG body. It looks like he's in some mech suit from Elysium or something.
Yeah.
I'm looking at some photos. The movie is shot, and he does wear a clunky suit in it.
Oh my God. I bet you he's like, I want to wear a clunky suit. That's going to be CGI. I'm going to shoot myself on a green screen in my basement. And then ILM, it's going to come back and stick my head on it.
Ugh, terrible. I mean, Bruce Willis. Does he just have like a lot of like gambling bills to pay?
I don't
Does he
know.
own too many casinos or hotels?
I don't
Like, what's
know.
going
He
on?
clearly needs money.
But like, why else would you do it? He's made
But he
so
doesn't
much
like
money.
doing this stuff, and it's clear he doesn't like doing it.
Why not just retire
Or
go
produce or
sit on a yacht, go release an album, like go play the harmonica.
Bruno is back.
the return of Bruno.
Who knows? So anyway, Hudson Hawk available to rent on iTunes. It's
yeah.
also in Canada on the CTV app. If you have that for free with commercials.
CTV
If you're
app.
so disgusted by having to pay to see it, just watch it for free with commercials.
Yeah.
I remember Bruce Willis when they opened up the Planet Hollywood in Toronto. They came to
There was a Planet Hollywood in Toronto?
yeah, it was right down by the Sky Dome.
Oh, okay. Never went.
Yeah, so I remember my friends calling me. This must have been in the early 90s or something, but they're like, yeah, Bruce Willis and his band are down at the Planet Hollywood playing a show on
Jim
stage.
Belushi and Dan Aykroyd, the Blues Brothers are back.
Like I said, no. I'm like, I'm good. It was like Bruce Willis and who knows, the Heart Attack or whatever they were called.
So that's it for Hudson Hawk.
Oh, okay.
Yep, that's it.
If you want to email the podcast, you can email us at no such thing as a bad movie at gmail.com. We're at Twitter at no such thing pod, and we're on patreon.com/no such thing as a bad movie. If you subscribe at the $5 level, you can get a little bonus episode. And if you're on the $2 level or up, you can be submitted into a lottery that we have every few months and to pick a movie for an episode. And we did a little Patreon coming out next week for Wonder Woman 1984.
Yeah.
It's the movie everyone's talking about, unfortunately. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at April Edmansky, also on Letterboxd.
You can follow me at DeCluJ, DECLOUX, letter J, on Twitter, Justin DeClue on Letterboxd. You can listen to me on the Important Cinema Club every week, the Bay Street Video Podcast. We go through all the new VHS and DVDs every week. And also, the Star Wars Puncast, where me and my friend Matthew Kumar are forced by our other friend Peter Kaplowski to watch the Clone Wars series.
Oh my God.
We are 2 episodes in.
You deserve medals.
And one of us really doesn't like it.
How's it going so far?
I like it. I knew I was going to like it eventually. Like, I think the designs are terrible, but I can enjoy kind of the badness of it. And it's fun to kind of quiz Peter because he loves the show and he loves Star Wars. So he can basically, he's like a living, talking Wikipedia. And, yeah, he can answer all our questions. And me and Matthew have a lot about what's happening.
Oh my God.
Oh, nice.
A living, walking Wikipedia.
And at the end of every episode, Peter says a pun that is Star Wars related.
And that's why the it's named that.
The Star Wars Puncast. Right. And at the end, Matthew goes, "Kill yourself." and only the second episode, Matthew reacts with disgust that Peter can't even craft a pun.
Yeah, I was just thinking he's going to have to think up a lot of these.
Yeah, he has one that is so dense, it sounds like just gibberish to us, and we make fun of him for it.
It's like any Wikipedia entry.
Yeah. Did you know there was a Star Wars alphabet? There is.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Now, don't care. We'll never watch those shows. Yeah, those are shows that I have absolutely no interest in watching, and I will never see unless somebody points a gun at my head. Dave Filoni.
Where can
Dave
the
Filoni
people,
and his wolf pack. Oh!
Where can the people find you, Colin?
On Twitter, Sergeant Zima, SGTZIMA.
And that's it.
That's it.
That's
closing
the book.
Catch the Hawk.
Closing the book
on Hudson Hawk.
The end of the first chapter.
So that was the end of the podcast.
And I've been April Atmansky.
I've been Justin DeGlue.
I've been Colin Cunningham.
And remember, there's no such thing as a bad movie.
Catch the Hawk.
I want to start calling the Hawk.
The Hawk.
Colin the Hawk.
Ooh, the Hawk. Look at that cold breeze. Was it the Hawk? It was the Hawk swinging by.